Hello, you're listening to Hugo Talks. We don't seek him here, we don't seek him there, but unfortunately Bill Gates seems to turn up everywhere. For the last 6 months, Bill Gates in the media has been telling everyone that life won't go back to normal until 2022 and how we should all take the vaccines that he has put his billions into, and how we should all get biometric passports, which his Microsoft are currently investing in and producing. And recently, he has been saying the next big threat will be bioterrorism, and on and on. Bill Gates, the biggest single funder of the World Health Organization, has been labelled the most influential doctor in the world who isn't a doctor and who doesn't have any medical qualifications. He turned up in a 60 Minutes interview with Anderson Cooper last night, and he is now telling the world that solving COVID was easy compared with climate. This megalomaniac truly likes to set himself up as the saviour of the world, especially through a mainstream media that his Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have given $250 million to in the past. That's a lot of favourable articles. Oh, just to recap, yesterday I was talking about Tony Blair appearing in the media speaking about how vaccine passports were inevitable, and I mentioned how, like many of the sage scientists who want lockdown to continue forever, well, them like Tony Blair are funded by Bill Gates, and I gave an example of a $3 million donation. But there was many more Bill Gates grants given to the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. This is just one page. 17 grants in total, easily over $20 million. I can't be bothered to count it up, but it's a lot. So anyway, back to Bill Gates. In this TV interview, Bill Gates talks about many of his techno fixes for climate change so the world can achieve carbon zero. He talks about his range of artificial lab meat food substitutes. Of course, Bill has invested heavily in this, so it's a bit like an advert for him. And seeing now that he owns half the farmland in the USA, he can really cut down the production of meat to facilitate this change to artificial meat created by his new companies. He talks about his new company that has invested in redesigning nuclear reactors. It's key to a carbon zero future, he says. A carbon zero future where all these companies he is investing in will apparently flourish. Many climate change experts consider Bill Gates' techno fixes as unicorn dreams, and nothing proves that point more than just a few days ago. As can be seen here in Germany's green energy failure, Germany turns back to coal and natural gas as millions of its solar panels are blanketed in snow and ice. Germany started an energy transition policy 20 years ago to decarbonize its energy supply, yet the millions of their solar panels were blanketed in snow a few days ago, with 30,000 wind turbines not working. Without coal, the country would now be sitting in darkness and freezing cold. As it says here, despite being the object of consternation and much vilification over the last 20 years, Germany's coal-fired plants are now being appreciated for what they are, truly meaningful power generation sources, available on demand, whatever the weather. With a nationwide blackout a heartbeat away, the German obsession with unreliable wind and solar is like a time bomb set to explode, it says here. So a good example of how techno fixes can easily fall down in the face of nature. Bill Gates' influence over the vaccines that are currently being pushed onto the world, his influence on the biometric passports that are being coerced onto the world, the lockdowns that scientists, that the majority who have financial links to Gates, who keep on advising governments to stay in lockdown. Bill Gates' influence is all over this. And like the World Economic Forum, the Great Reset, which Gates is also involved with, it all seems to stem or correlate with an obsession with climate change, the United Nations Agenda 2030. This is why it's kind of obvious to assume that these health passports at some point will end up including how much carbon you're using. These people are clearly obsessed with this. But at long last, here is an article in the mainstream media that is starting to question Gates' involvement in all of this. And this is from Ireland, the Irish Times. Obviously, they must not have received a cheque from the foundation. And it is actually questioning stuff. A journalist reporting on Bill Gates and questioning his involvement and implying he may be having a negative effect. Is this for real? It says here, time to question our tech billionaire overlords. It says moronic conspiracy theories about Bill Gates wanting to microchip the world only detract attention from the vast unaccountable power he already wields. Now, this is a good point. Every time we hear Bill Gates or Melinda Gates complaining about conspiracy theories, they always bring up the most sensational claims. And they do this now to distract from the very real facts that they are basically funding every part of this whole situation and investing in everything that will benefit from its continuation. The article could do better, but it does talk about their investment in the Oxford vaccine, nudging them into giving exclusive rights to AstraZeneca when they originally wanted it to be non-exclusive, how the Gates Foundation is obsessed with their image so much that they have granted over $250 million towards journalism, and suggests that 20 years ago, Gates was subject to much more questioning and criticism from the media, and that now has all but stopped. I suppose 250 million seems to have created, it says here, a media that only talks of Gates as soft profiles and glowing editorials describing the foundation's good work. The article also talks about $2 billion in tax-deductible charitable donations to private companies, including some of the largest businesses in the world, such as GlaxoSmithKline, Unilever, IBM, and NBC Universal Media. It queries the ethics of a foundation giving a charitable grant to a company that it partly owns and stands to benefit from financially, which would seem like an obvious conflict of interest. It also points out that the foundation's protection of patents, which make life-saving drugs prohibitively expensive, rebounds on the vulnerable people the foundation is allegedly trying to help. It then goes on to point out, ironically, conspiracy theories about Gates wanting to microchip the world only deflect attention from the truth, which is right in front of us, but almost too big to see. That the unelected, unaccountable Bill and Melinda Gates have power on a level without precedent in human history. Now, this is what we want to be seeing more of, some proper journalism. Could go much deeper, like examining the ties between them and everything going on around this whole situation we have now with lockdowns, jabs, and health passports, but it's something, it's a start. As always, thanks for listening. Come and subscribe to HugoTalks.com. It's the only place where I get to keep the subscribers. If on YouTube, for example, if I get deplatformed, if I get cancelled, I lose all subscribers. But on HugoTalks.com, I get to keep them. So if you're going to subscribe, come and subscribe there. And I'll see you later.